With us now are Kenny Burns and Danita Chantel. Hello to you both.
Hey,
Hey. Danita, welcome back. How have you been?
I've been fantastic. I've been hanging in there with pandemic fatigue, but fantastic.
Good. And you wanted to introduce me to your friends, so who did you bring with us?
I brought to you today someone who is a culture creator. His name is Kenny Burns. He's the entrepreneur, a producer with more than 20 years experience in the industry, covering genres such as music, entertainment, fashion, marketing, media, and he's also an author. So we have someone that's really special today, and his name is Kenny Burns, and he is a lifestyle specialist, culture creator, and hopefully he can talk to us a little bit about that today.
Good. Hi, Kenny.
And
How are you?
I'm blessed and highly favored. Just ready to get up out this pandemic so we can get back outside, child.
Whew.
yeah,
I like your logo. Who did that logo for you?
His name is D.L. Warfield. He did both logos, actually.
Nice work. I started out as a graphic artist, commercial artist, graphic artist, and in advertising when I first started my career. And so I always notice that, like a good type font or a good logo, something that speaks loudly. And in
Uh,
branding, I guess that's something that you're used to too. You've got a
Yes,
keen eye for that.
it's most important. It's funny because one of my mentees is now over at Instagram, and she's always telling me, Kenny, no, just put it up. You don't have to brand it. I'm like, no, I have to brand it. That's how people will know the brand. And I refuse to adapt to that mentality.
speaking about brands, you worked and served as a senior VP for Sean Combs Enterprises in branding. You also worked with Roc-A-Fella Records and many other artists. Talk to us about how you uh, take brands to the next level, and how you made your mark in the industry.
Yeah, well, to understand culture, you have to be a part of it. In my entire life, I've been at the epicenter of what was happening. When I was younger, it was a little bit by happenstance. Like I would be around the right people at the right time. But then as I got older, I understood my superpower, and that's people and making people move. And so when you kind of tap into your superpower, you kind of make sure that, okay, well, it's going down in New York City because at the time New York was the hub for music. You got to make sure you're in New York. If it's fashion and you got to go to Paris and Milan, I became the second black designer ever in Saks Fifth Avenue with Ryan Kinney because I wanted to dress hip hop up. It was a personal taste of mine and ended up, being in Saks and those high end stores before Virgil and the rest. So I think it's right place, right time, but it's also to understanding your superpower. And then that way you can effectively say, hey, I represent this brand. I support this one because I use it. And then, it kind of takes on a life of its own.
So is that something that's sort of what the lifestyle specialist, that name that you affectionately known by? Like, talk to us
Yeah,
about that.
yeah. So Lifestyle Specialist came about in 2005. I had saw that the hierarchy of advertising, like the gray advertisings, the Uniworlds, they all had the majority of the urban business because they had urban departments. But
Okay.
it was a big ask for smaller, more boutique marketing agencies that had direct connections with the artists in the streets. And so when I got into a system with one of the agencies, I saw really it's one person that gets all the business, that has all the relationships, and everybody else is, basically, fulfilling a service. And so when I started going to these meetings, it would depend on what company I was with. I would introduce myself as a lifestyle specialist, and it became honestly a one-stop shop where I didn't have to have the back office and, waste those expenses. I could take all of the money.
Mm.
What was one of the surprising moments along the way for you so far, Kenny, where you were like, wow, that really happened and we did that? What was one of those like epiphanies for you?
Yeah, changing culture as I knew it, making them dress up and want to be a little bit more presentable. It was a white tee, big baggy shorts era, and to change culture as I knew it, and a whole bunch had to fall in place, right? Like we created Ryan Kinney, my partners and I. We made headway as far as sales and entering into stores that normally didn't carry us. And then I was vice president of Roc-A-Fella Records at the time, and Jay-Z wore 'em and changed clothes, the video. So it was like perfect storm, right? Couldn't have designed that any better.
During the pandemic, you and D Nice made a serious impact on the culture by offering some positive vibes and giving us entertainment. Talk to us about how that trajectory with Instagram changed your life. 'Cause you
Um,
certainly changed mine, that's for sure.
Ah,
Thank you, love. As far as D Nice and I are concerned, we did hundreds of events a year together, and have done thousands over our lifetime. And we just, he went live doing what he does best, and that's play music. And he spoke to people through music. I went live in frame culture and people in culture that we all look up to and made them human and relatable. And I think that those times is when we needed to really see the human in each other and having just vulnerable conversations. Even for me, I'm a very confident, very secure person, but I was peeling back layers on that onion, honey, I didn't even know existed. I was dealing with childhood trauma, but it helped that I had other people going through the same thing. So not maybe outwardly saying exactly what was on my mind, but having someone say it and me help them with their problem. And I'm actually talking out my issues at the same time. So it just became a safe place for community. And I think that's what QC was for D Nice and what TKBS Nation is for me.
Yeah, yeah. And you had some really amazing notables like Jamie Foxx, the late Andre Harrell, and President Joe Biden.
Yeah, well, a couple things. Jamie Foxx, the interview was uber special. I knew Jamie, had been around him for a number of years. Never besties or we hung out all the time, but it was always a mutual respect. And then when we, started this whole Instagram offering every day at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, he saw me actually interview John Ossoff. And then he saw me interview Sean King. And then he hit me and was like, I never seen anybody kind of handle Sean King like that. Like you had him where you wanted him. You should run for office. And I'm like, I don't want to run for office. I just want to help things make sense to people that don't understand politics. That was really my mission. But then as time went on, I interviewed our now Madam Vice President Kamala Harris. I interviewed Joe Biden, and I helped flip the state of Georgia blue for the first time as far as the presidency since I think 30 years, and the first time ever for the Senate. So it was just an amazing feat. It was also a thing, like you mentioned before this, you and I were talking about some things we just got out of the pandemic that taught us more about ourselves. I never thought I would go into politics, but I am here for it now. Not as senator or governor or president, just helping those who are equipped and ready.
In what ways has this made your family stronger? Obviously, your career is blossoming because it always blossoms, right? But how has it made your family blossom?
Well, I've been married 22 years this coming October. I have a 20-year-old son. I know I try to stay as youthful as possible, but I have a 20-year-old son and a 16-year-old son. So, I try to, one, with my kids, teach them what I know, share with my wife, and we obviously have been building our empire together, for the last 22 years. But I think it's all about being selfless, like understanding your role in your relationship. I think that always changes as you grow and learn more. But I think we have to accept things that are the truth. I needed someone, I always tell this story. This is rather funny, by the way, but I always tell a story. When I met my life, I was well into my career and knew what I wanted to be, but I had a rotten tooth. And I never would, even growing up, I was in my early 20s, but I never was taught to take care of my teeth. I had a, she said, how do you look this way and have a rotten tooth? I was like, oh, you. And so from that point on, but I was also, $30,000 under my mattress and $30,000 in debt. So it was things that I know I needed, to grow. And I think ever since we've been just teaching each other what we needed in the relationship, and our roles have obviously grown and changed. Now she's a part of my, my every business, right? Like, so she does all the back office and contracts and, so it's just a thing about with my kids as well, learning each other. I tell my kids all the time, I've learned as much from you as you've from me. There's no handbook on being a father or a husband. And I think that at the end of the day, we all have to learn sometimes through trial and error, but together is the best way to learn.
I love that. Danita, I'm sure that rings true with you too, right?
Yeah. I absolutely adore Kenny and the TKBS Nation that he's created. It's a safe space for all of us to connect every day and have fun and laugh and talk about politics, culture, and different things like that. And he always inspires us, like the dream is real. So I'm just grateful. And Kenny, I forgot to mention, you were in Oprah's Favorite Things for the holiday magazine, right? You were.
Oh, wait, and he's got it right there.
Yeah, so we had the beauty of a blessing to be Oprah's Favorite Things. Harris is the fastest growing independently owned American whiskey in U.S. history. We are the fastest growing company in spirits, in front of any celebrity, including Casamigos with George Clooney, as well as Sean Diddy Combs with Ciroc. So we are independent, and we are, I mean, this is lightning in the bottle. Like, I've worked my entire life, and my job has been to know about culture and brands and how to connect them. I've never seen anything like this. And when I met Fawn Weaver, I want to shout her out. You know, I had never heard a story like this that resonated with my soul. And not just in spirits, but just the fact that a slave taught the most famous whiskey maker ever how to actually make whiskey. And then the steps that Fawn Weaver took to secure, you know, this house, for instance. This house is the Dan Call Farm, and it's a 330-acre farm where this preacher slash bootlegger brought, you know, a young Jack Daniels as an orphan to live and work and do chores, much like the slaves were doing, and then to see Uncle Nearest and learn from Uncle Nearest, then to find out she purchased this place, which was known as Distillery Number 16, I think, to go and find out through her research that this house is actually Distillery Number 7. And when you look at old Number 7 on the Jack Daniels, so it was just so much history and so much amazing things that came out of this. It's truly been a blessing.
Well, one of the new segments that we're going to be having, Kenny, because our show is going to go from a half hour now back to an hour, is that we decided. Thank you. We decided to create a segment called "Spin the Bottle," and it's not where you spin the bottle so that you can kiss somebody. It's like you're going to spin the bottle, and then whatever recipe, a drink recipe, pops up, that's the drink recipe that we're going to feature. So we would love to celebrate that with you. That would be fun.
Send the address.
Okay.
I'll send you. We just acquired a piece of this company as well. It's a Haitian cream liqueur called LS Cream Liqueur.
Nice.
And it's so many desserts. And when you said recipes,
Yeah.
maybe so many desserts. And I'll send you guys a bottle. It'll be there by Wednesday.
That'll be fun. And hopefully you could like guest play the game with us. You could spin a bottle there, and then we'll pick up a recipe. We'll do lots of fun things together. Danita, do you have any other questions you would like to talk to Kenny about before we wrap?
Can you just talk to us about what advice you would have for creatives? Or even moms that are home that are opening up businesses or being entrepreneurs, because everything has changed with the economy.
I think that, you know, we are often taught in society that there's an age limit on our destination and our dreams. And that's just not true. I think the pandemic has proven that we have to be creative. We have to be resilient. We have to be thoughtful. And if we are those three things, we can get anything and everything we came for. I think the misconception is that at a certain age, it's over. But now it's more like, no, I'm more passionate than ever. Like, I'm taking my learnings along the journey and I'm applying them finally. Oh, wait, no, I'm not done. There's so much more. So to the ones that think their dreams need to be deferred because of time or circumstance, you have time. You have time. The dream is real. And then for kids and youngins that are on the way up and want to be entrepreneurs and aspire to be great, you know, never let your expectations exceed your effort. You can want things all day long, but unless you put in the work, they will continue to just be a thought. And, you know, that carrot dangling in front of your head. And it's, you know, it's beautiful to kind of sit back. You know, I look at all the blessings during the pandemic because, you know, at the end of the day, we lost a lot of people and it was tragic on many levels, but a lot of people had to dig in. And without being forced to sit down and look at yourself in the mirror and adapt and adjust and ultimately make a pivot, you know, but that's God's way of putting you on, you know, on your square. You can't fool him. You can fool most people, but you can't fool him.
I couldn't agree more. That was so beautifully put. Danita Chantel, my love to you. Kenny Burns, my love to you. And happy journeys. And before we go out, let's just dance.
Don't threaten Kenny with a good time.
Thank you, guys. I'll see you soon. Be well. Happy journeys.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.